Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Spotlight. We have a new guest, the esteemed Johnathan Welch. He is my new hall director. And Jonathan, I just want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and tell the audience, like, what are the important things about you that they should know if you were to introduce yourself to someone who doesn't know you?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I'd say esteemed, but
Yeah.
that's too much highlight. So my name's Johnathan Welch. I'm the new BWR Hall Director at Iowa State, and graduated in the spring with my master's, higher and post-secondary ed. And then, fun fact, got my bachelor's in secondary education with an emphasis in biological sciences. So, teaching has always been kind of a big thing, and kind of relates into what housing does, I guess, to an
A little
extent.
bit.
What to know about me? I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of weird things. Like, we'll probably get into it, but I was a dancer for 12 years. And everyone always makes note of it. Like, when I walk or like do stuff, they're like, "Oh, you're so elegant," and I'm like, it just comes out.
Classically trained.
No, well, yes and no. I wouldn't say class because everyone's like, "Oh, can you do the tango?" And I'm like, "No, okay, not that fancy. Like the basics, the basics."
Yeah.
But no, super active guy. I would say back-to-back volleyball championships at my old university. And that's probably been the highlight everyone recognizes me of. Besides my last name being Welch, and them looking at me going, "Oh, the Welch hallway," and I'm like, nothing to do with me, nothing whatsoever.
Yeah. The Welch Street, Welch Avenue, the whole town's named after you.
No, for real. And everyone's like, "The Mr. Welch," and I'm like, I paid no funding for this building.
I'm from California. I haven't even thought about Iowa.
For real. Well, and I'm like, the building's older than I am, so like it has no correlation.
No, it was just waiting for you to fill in the vacancy. And it is kind of unfortunate. I feel like you got typecasted. I feel like when you came here, they saw your last name was Welch. There was zero shot you were going to be the Willow Hall Director. You know,
two W's though.
Yeah.
So
Hey.
Wallace Wilson and
There you go. It kind of makes sense. Maybe you didn't get. maybe I'm wrong.
No, when they were interviewing me, they're like, I asked at the end, I was like, "So do you know like what hallway and stuff?" And they're like, "Oh, you'll be in BWR." And I was like, looking at it later, like after all the applications, I was like, funny how it works.
Yeah.
That I'll just end up in the same building as my last name.
Yeah.
So the world works in funny ways.
I was just saying. Well, BWR isn't the greatest dorm on campus, so I'd love to imagine that you got like cheated out of a good dorm because your last name is Welch, and then they had to give you BWR. But
I mean, you're living in it.
I was saying it has the best people.
I was gonna say, come on now.
And honestly, I love BWR. It has an awesome personality. AC-less dorm, so it has that good social aspect. Well, we get AC, so
Oh yeah,
we're vibing. We're fine. We're fine.
Everyone else is fine.
Yeah, everyone else is fine. Too.
And it's cooling off. It's fine. Open a window.
That's true.
Create a
Oh
breeze.
yeah. Oh yeah. When you have heat control and window open, count me in. Count me in. But I wanted to ask you about basically what brings you to Iowa, and then like walk me through your story of becoming a hall director, and then like how this interest evolved, and then how it turned into you being a hall director. So just tell me your residence life story.
So yeah, I never thought I would end up in Iowa. I'll be honest, I thought I was gonna stay in California, either that or Arizona. And then a lot of it, I was like, why not go to the Midwest? Why not go to the East Coast? Like, I don't have any family out here though, so I'm like, I don't know what it looks like. And so during my 6 years at Arizona State, I did my undergrad and grad there. I was what we call community assistants, similar to RA. Each university does a different name. Why, beyond me. They like to make fancy terms, but did that for 5 years. And then for my last year, we called them like lead community assistants. So you kind of were like the middleman in a way between the hall director and the staff. So you got a little more roles and stuff, but doing all of that and whatnot, it was more figuring out like if I wanted to do something at a university level, what would that look like? And I didn't necessarily know if I wanted to become a hall director because, I've done housing for so long. I'm like, oh, easy, clockwork at this point. But I was like, we can give it a few more years, give it a shot, like try it at a different university, same shenanigans, different stuff. But I've been enjoying myself so far. And it's funny because I, again, didn't think I was going to stay doing this. I thought I was going to do like in a student's office, student engagement, something that would not require me to be in the office as long as I am. And I'm glad like I'm in the office some of the time, but I'm also out of the office some of the time. Um, but yeah, moving to Iowa, don't know why. It's pretty. She's
Yeah,
pretty.
yeah.
I'll give you that. And everyone always asks me about the snow, and I've only known Arizona heat, so it's only like hot and hotter.
Yeah.
And then I would say our only cold season is like November and December, going till like February, and then it heats up again. But the lowest I know is like 40 degrees. So,
Oh yeah.
you know, I'm waiting for the snow, and I'm waiting to be freezing a little
You
bit.
know, that'll be pretty though. And I can say like when you're living on campus and everyone's too lazy to go walk around in the snow,
Mhm.
like that first snow, it actually is like such a vibe. Like it is immaculate.
Well,
That first snow and it's like covers everything and nobody's touching it. It's not muddy yet. Like great stuff.
Oh
So,
yeah, it's pretty to look at, but then once you're out there, you're like, oh, it's
yeah.
cold. Like
It'll be pretty for about maybe 2 hours.
yeah,
And then
you
the
know,
rest of the winter is.
and I'll be inside watching it from my window
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
a blanket on,
watching
going.
Yeah, like that would be great if I could be out there doing anything right now.
No, for real. Well, and everyone here is used to it because they've been in like Iowa their entire
Uh-huh.
life. Me, I'm like SoCal boy, goes
Yeah.
to Arizona, the next hottest state. Like comes to Iowa, doesn't know a lick about Iowa, and I'm like, okay, word. Like I wanted 4 seasons, so shame on me, I guess.
Yeah, well, this
So,
this will be a lot more than 4 seasons. Like this will be like 10. So
so
you'll-
not in the contract.
yeah, you'll get ready for that 60-degree December day, and then that'll be like season 2.0, where like you think it's gonna get hot and
No, well, that's how it was kind of this past week too. Like it got hot and then it dropped off. I'm waiting for it to get hot again. I just need to know if I need to break out like my coats or not.
it's soon. I can assure you it's soon. But so you come to California, do residence life. Were you going to school with the intention of doing education still, or is that just like the major that has a lot of movability in there? Or what were you-
Yeah. So I went in, funny enough, actually, my first year, I went in as a bio major. So kind of similar. If you can see it, you can see it.
Sure.
But I went in as a biology major. And then after my first year, they're like, okay, year 2, like, you got to take OChem, you got to take physics. And I was like, you're
That's
joking.
how they get ya. That's how
No,
they
that
get
part.
ya.
And I was like, I don't need to know all of that. And then my mom was like, I told you so. Like, and so ended up changing majors and stuff. And I used to, my senior year of high school, I taught dance and stuff, and that kind of helped segue into what I wanted to do. And I think it helped a lot too that in high school I had good mentors in terms of like my advisor. She kind of walked me through like what she does and stuff. And that ultimately led me to grad school and like figuring out if I wanted to do like high school counseling or if I wanted to go to a university level. But then I was like, there's more mobility in a university and you get paid a little more.
Yeah.
So the caveats weighed out. But no, I've thought about going back to teaching. I will say it is not for the weak. I definitely have too many gray hairs during my student teaching semester. But you know, it's a lot of it is worth it because of the students and stuff. And I know everyone says it and they're like, oh, it's because of the students. And then like you have the people who like it actually makes an impact and stuff. And there are definitely, you got to wake up at like 6:30 for those days and like get there by 7:30. And I'm not gonna lie, those were hard days. I woke up, there were bags under my eyes. I'm like, I was like, do we have to do this? And you're there the entire day, Monday through Friday, doing what the teacher's doing, running the class some of the times.
And the students are screaming in the wild.
Well, it's not elementary school, so
No, that's high school too.
well, yeah, maybe out here in Iowa.
Yeah.
I don't know how y'all do it out here, but no. And so doing that, I was like, okay. And then COVID hits, and then I'm like, do I want to go out into the working world where there's all of this mess, or do I just want to do 2 more years of education? And I wasn't burnt out yet, so I was like, okay, I can tough it through. And then I finished my grad, and I was severely burnt out. I was ready to be done. Love you, ASU. My grad program, a joke. Love you though. Love you for the memories, but definitely was not my first choice in going there, but definitely the memories were worth going there.
And so you did your grad. The grad school wasn't on the table right at the beginning. It was something that like you decided to do because COVID came in there? Or were you always going to go to grad school?
It was more of a when.
Okay.
Because I knew with what I wanted to do eventually, I would need to get my master's degree. There are some hall director spots at different universities where you just need a bachelor's. Granted, they don't pay as well because you don't have the experience. But it was more of just a when do I go and get it, and do I just tough it out now, or do I go somewhere work, then have the possibility of them paying for me to do it? But then at the same time too, gotta pay for your bills, right? And I was like, go to school and work a full-time job and do teaching at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm like, when do I have time for me?
Yeah.
When do I get to have me time?
Yeah. And so now you finished grad school. Were you doing hall director stuff while you were in grad school?
No, so Arizona State, they had graduate assistant programs, but on our West campus, because ASU has 4 campuses, on the West campus, we didn't have like a graduate hall director spot. That was more where like the lead spot came in, and you got to learn more of like the behind the scenes, kind of help out like with peer accountability and stuff. But on the Tempe campus, which is the main one, they had more like GA spots for like housing, financial aid, student engagement, athletics you could work into. And if you work there, you got some pretty cool merch. And so I don't know. It was always a back and forth of like, do I stay in housing? And I thought about not for a year and a half. I did apply for a different job and I did get it on the main campus. But then I was super heartbroken because I enjoyed what I did, but I was like, I don't know if I'm going to keep growing in what I was doing, but luckily it turned out all right. We're here, hopefully still doing a good job. But a lot of it is like, I always want to keep growing. And I feel like if I'm stalemating, like I'm not benefiting myself nor the people around me. So, and it's always those hard things like you don't want to leave because like you enjoy the people, or maybe you don't, like, bye. But like if you enjoy the people you work with, I found it's very hard to move on from what you do. And I'm a very selfless person, if you couldn't tell, Elijah. I will sacrifice my well-being to make sure you are good.
Yeah, well, you leaving is definitely sacrificing other people's well-beings. But I think at the same time, though, you're at this point in your life, and especially when you were like in college going to grad school, where like the point of school is to do all that stuff and to like go and explore those things. And so to see like, do I like education? Is this good for me? Do I like residence life? Do I like student stuff? And what's great is you're still very young, so you can still just do these things later. You know what I mean? So I feel like this stuff is gonna look good. And so even if you aren't making the perfect decision this year, you could still make that perfect decision in 2 years, and you haven't really lost out on much.
No, for real. Well, and I don't feel like there's any like perfect decision. Like I feel like people are very much like, I have to make the correct decision. It's like, yeah, that's the whole point of growing. Like you're gonna make so many mistakes throughout life. Like it's just how you learn from it. And like being an RA, it's not for everyone. Like everyone wants it because of the benefits. There are some bad people for this job.
Yeah.
Like there are good qualities and there are super bad qualities, but it's like if you have qualities that we can like mold and stuff, that's where it's at. And like seeing the raw talent is always what I look for. Because there are just some people who are naturally gifted and you're like, okay, those are good ones. But I like to see like the personality and stuff, because it's like that's what makes people different compared to like, oh, like RA number 1 versus RA number 3. Like, no. But no, I've definitely seen my fair share of RAs where I'm like, if you go, it's fine. Like, and they were happy to as well. They're like, I don't think this is for me. And like, this is when I was still in RA too. And they're like, I don't think it's for me. And I was like, I didn't want to be the one to say it,
but maybe.
Yeah. Well,
I'm glad you tried it though.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing too. Like they gain a lot of what we call like soft skills and stuff. Like you're able to transfer to other stuff. And you do learn a lot as an RA. Like you learn a lot of conflict management. You learn a lot of how to interact with different people from different ways of life. And like, I feel like the pros weigh the cons a lot.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's just hard to get some people involved. And I wanted to talk to you about this like quality management I wanted to know, what does it take to be a hall director? What do you think are some good qualities that you're trying to work on, or that like other people should work on, or just residence life in general. Like what makes someone fit for residence life? Because it's hard for me to describe it to other people without sounding pretentious.
Oh, I was about
But
to
you're
be
the
like-
one who hires us. You know what I mean? So what are you looking for when you're trying to get these RAs in here?
See, I was about to be like, you tell me. This
Yeah.
is my first. This is my first go around. Well, that was the funny part coming into this job. Like, had no say in who got hired. I just showed up and hoped for the best. And I think it's gone pretty well for the most part.
Yeah.
No, for me, I am funny enough on that committee this year for RA recruitment, so should be a fun time.
Oh, nice.
But a lot of what I think I look for is like just being you and like genuine and stuff, because like everyone always says like these are the things you gotta hit in the interview, like this is how you stand out. And it's like, for me, it's yes, show that you can do that, but also like this job is very personality based. Like you're here to interact with the students at the university and like have these genuine connections with them. And funny enough, students aren't stupid. Like they can read the room and when you're being fake and not. And so I think having that just relatability with them is a huge thing, but also for me too, like being able to take any moment and learning from it. So like even if it's not the best moment and you like make a mistake, for example, as long as you're able to learn from that and grow, biggest thing, biggest caveat. Because it's if you're not growing, it's like we can only give you so many tools. Then it's like we need you to be smart because we hired you for a reason. Like we saw something in you compared to I don't know how many applied, like 300 I think is what I've heard, which is a lot. Like I think we have like half of that number like all around. But that's like my biggest things, and like I don't know, it's just a very challenging job, and like if you're not in it for the right reasons, it's not worth it. Because it's definitely, you see a lot of stuff, and hopefully, like knock on wood, you never have to experience anything extremely bad. But like we prepare you for like all the worst case scenarios, and we're like doing all these behind closed doors, and we're like, if this happens, what are you gonna do? And it's like no one prepares you for like if someone's on the bed like unconscious, like doing whatever, like. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, I'll have a better answer by
once you start.
Once I hired maybe. But I've like definitely had my fair share of like RA interviews and like sat in with campus partners and like other hall directors and RAs, and like the way we did it at Arizona State is we do a debrief right after the interview. So we do like a 6-table round table, and then I've had students ask me who applied. They're like, "So what do you do when we leave?" And I'm like, we talk about you. And like their mouths just drop and they're like, what? And I'm like, how are we going to talk about like if we think you're good, if we think you're bad, like improvement areas? Like how do you think we do that? Like send it in an email, here's a voice memo. Like no, so it'll be interesting.
I can assure you that I personally don't like the way that we do RA interviews. I don't know if you've heard about it or know how it operates yet.
I have, and you know, I can't say I'm a fan of how they are. It'll be interesting to see how we caveat it and stuff. I know we talked about like the info sessions and like they're kind of being poo-pooed, and I'm like, well, how are people going to learn about it otherwise? Like instead of word of mouth. So we'll see. I don't necessarily like how it goes, but you know.
Yeah, well, I think my thing is you're talking about like this conversing about what the things you liked, the things you didn't like, your concerns and stuff. That conversation doesn't happen. Like,
oh,
no, not even a little. So what we do is you have 3 different rooms, 2 people in each room, and then each room asks you 3 questions. They write those questions down, like your answers down, and then they give those to somebody who hasn't met you ever. And then that person decides. Those are the hall directors who decide.
Oh, so you better write enough down to make the candidate either look really good or really bad. Like,
and that's what I'm saying. It's like I understand it on paper, like some of it, to where it's like it's taking out discriminatory things like what is the person wearing, you know, skin color, anything you could possibly think of. But I think the issue lies with the way, like my personality, you know what I mean? The fact that I smiled the whole interview has no bearing on whether or not I make it or not. You know what I mean? Like the way I talk, how, you know, any of that stuff, just any of my personality doesn't come through to a person who's never met me, who's just reading my answers. At that point, I just write an essay.
No, that be like, answer these 3 questions for me and best of luck.
Yeah, and then send it out at that point.
Make sure you write an APA and cite your sources.
Yeah.
And just,
Well,
Yeah,
the difficult part though is that 300 applicants apply, and it's like not every hall director can't meet 300 people. So I understand like the necessity for it, but it just makes for an awkward interviewing process.
yeah. I've already been told to clear my calendar for that week because that's all I'm doing that entire week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, love. Like, I think it's a very enjoying part of the job is like to see the candidates and
Hmm.
stuff of like who you might be able to work with. I think it's a little weird that you don't converse with it because it's like how like you're taking other people's word, but like the candidate, like from what I've seen, might do well in different situations. Like their personality, like is probably the biggest job of this position. Like I feel like for you, like your personality ties it all together. Like
Yeah.
versus like people are good on paper and people might not be good like in person, but like you might be better in person and not good on paper. And
Yeah.
it's like,
And so it's a hard. It's I don't want to call it an impossible challenge because then people are gonna give up and just say that this is the best way to do it. But I do think that there's a little room for improvement. So you're on that committee, so we'll see.
I'll
We'll see
try.
what you do.
Listen, I just, sit there and like I give my info and stuff, but I'm like, I feel like my first year is a big growing year and like just
Yeah.
like while I have insight, I'm like, I just got here. I don't know what I'm doing some of the time.
Uh-huh.
Like I know like what to do in the role for the most part, but I'm like, there's a few things where I'm like, I've never experienced this before. Like let me just coast it
Sit
out.
and absorb.
Yeah, pretty
Absorb
much. Let
for
me
a
absorb
while.
like a sponge. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So you use the word growth is a big part of your vocabulary, and I love that. By the way, I'm a huge growth mindset person. So you're talking to the
good.
perfect person to be having a conversation about growth. But I wanted to kind of understand what are the areas that you're looking to grow in when you're doing this? Like where's the most potential for growth that you're seeing? If you were to have expectations for yourself in the next couple of years, what are you looking for? Are you looking for growth, or is this something that you kind of find as it happens, or what are you doing in these areas to like grow yourself?
That's a phenomenal question. And Susan told me too. She's like, he's gonna ask some good questions, and you're gonna be like, for me, I know I use growth a lot, and everyone's like, what does that mean? I don't even know half the time. I think for me, a lot of how I want to grow is not having accountability in the way of like, oh, like this is what I'm doing, and like if people call me out, like holding myself for it. But I think being the new person coming in, there's a lot of people, which is like a good and bad way because I feel like it challenges you to stay on your toes and stuff. But I think there's a lot of people who don't necessarily think you're qualified to do the position in which you got hired, which like there's a reason why we get hired. Like I obviously was qualified enough to make it here, and was able to show like experience and whatnot. So I think the biggest growth will be displaying that in a way that's good and like people will make note of that and stuff. Because I've had people who have definitely like felt like I didn't know what I was doing, or like they'll look at me and they're like, "How do you know what you're doing?" And I'm like, "I just do it." Like it's just like not something I have to often think about for sometimes. Um, but I think there's definitely a few areas like duty, I have that coming up and stuff. So I think that will be a different side because it's like I've always called up for the hall director, but it's like now I'm supposed to know what to do. And I do for most things, but then there's definitely some things where I'm like, I need a little bit of extra assistance. Like I don't know if that's a me thing or like an upper leadership thing. But I feel like duty will be an area of growth. But also like supervising y'all and stuff is definitely a big challenge because it's like, as you were saying, I'm relatively similar in age, which
Mhm.
is a benefit and
Yeah,
disadvantage at the
yeah.
same time. Because there's definitely times where it helps being relatable for y'all and having that ability to be like on the same page. But then it's hard because I feel like sometimes when I need to be serious, people don't take me serious because it's like, oh, you're only like 24. And it's like, yeah, but
I'm your boss.
I'm the boss. Like, just listen to me and stuff. And so I think that'll be a big area of growth and like figuring times where to change that mindset. I don't know. I feel like that's a hard area. And there's definitely some staff where I'm like, oh, they're gonna give me a run for my money. But like, I enjoy that though because it makes it challenging in a way of like, I get to help them try to be the best individual that they can be, while also challenging myself in the way of like, I need to help grow them and assist them in that journey, but also keep them responsible for what they're doing as a staff member.
Yeah, I think the age thing is such a hard problem to have because it's like one, it's unavoidable,
Mm-hmm.
and it has nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? It's just like you have to start at some point. You know what I mean? So you have 1 year has to be your first year. You have to be the youngest you're ever going to be doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's always going to be what's happening, and so that's such an uncomfortable problem. And I can say that with new student programs, a lot of our upper management were like 5 years older than us, 6 years old, and it was really awesome because you could tell we just related so much. It was such an easier conversation. We felt comfortable talking to them, and I would love to understand how they kind of tackled that issue. Like, how did they kind of gain the necessary respect to do it while also doing the job well? And I'd love to have a conversation with you in like a year, and then just to see like what did you do, like how did you feel? But since it's so at the beginning, like it's really hard to understand like the dichotomy of how working with your RAs, which is me.
It is you.
It is
Fun
me.
fact.
Yeah, fun fact. It is me. Working with the RAs and then like with your Asian stuff. Because when I was working at the Woodward Academy, I look 16, first off, and so I'm walking into a room of a bunch of criminals. Like there are.
Were you 16 though?
No, no,
Okay.
I was 20. I was 21.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm walking in and these kids are 16, 15, but they think that they're 30. But they're 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk in looking like this, and it was the most challenging social thing to do ever was like, how do I use my age to my advantage and like reach these kids in a way that these adults can't? But also, how do I gain their respect? And I think the respect gaining was a lot different than like what you're probably doing because mine was very dangerous.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're not as dangerous as what those are. But no.
But the idea is still there, and it's given me uncomfortable, like just even trying to imagine how to like navigate that again because it was I didn't have enough time. I couldn't spend enough time with them to navigate that effectively.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no solution to that problem. It was just like I was kind of disrespected by some kids and I was kind of respected by other kids and I never intentionally did anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big hill to climb.
It is. Well, and like no one prepares you for that either too because like you were saying, everyone's got to start at some age and I think I'm probably the youngest person on pro staff.
That's probably true, I think.
Yeah, and like for me, it's hard to relate with them because like they're not significantly older, but like they're definitely at a different time in their life versus me. I'm like freshly out of grad school and I'm like a baby compared to them.
Yeah.
But then it's like I'm close enough in age with you guys, and for some I'm like, okay, that's awesome. But then others like you'll share more than you need to share, and I'm like, okay, like I really don't need to know that, but like go ahead. And so no, hopefully you can ask me next year. I hope to be here next year.
I hope you're here next year too.
I've already been asked if I'm coming back, and I'm like, we're only 3 weeks into the semester. What do you mean?
Give me a minute.
Yeah, I was like, I just started. What do you mean?
I say you can leave when I leave.
Oh, got it. Put it on the record, actually.
I know. Well, and I think a whole other layer to this with like the difficulty in that is you live in the space that you're working. You know what I mean? So it's like you can just hear people walking by your whoever's, I don't know what they call it when they're under you, but like your workers are walking by your door talking.
Flipping my mat and
Flipping,
stuff.
whoever's doing that is
yeah,
crazy.
I wonder who that is.
I don't know who's doing that, but for example, people are flipping the mat in front of your door, but they're doing these. You live in this area, and that makes it even harder to break this like balancing work and work and then home life of what you're doing at home, and so it's definitely weird.
It is, and I hope that's something I can teach y'all because that's what my supervisor taught me last year was the work-life balance, and haven't been as good as it this semester because like it's all new and stuff, and like working with the new team, I feel like there's always more stuff that you have to be like a little more hands-on or like guiding with and stuff, not necessarily doing. So like, and I don't mind answering the phone like at 8:30 or whatnot because I'm like, if you're calling me, like it's something that can't wait versus like a text, like I can just look at it tomorrow. But I'm hoping like because we live where we work, I can teach y'all like to have a little more discipline with yourself and like maybe not answer the text when it's like 10:30 at night. Like maybe if it can wait till tomorrow, like do that. Or if it's the weekend, like really try not to do like work in that sense, because you're being tasked to do like 3 different things. You're tasked with being like staff and working like what 20 hours a week. Is that what we employ you for? I don't know.
It's less than that.
I don't know. But we employ you for like working the desk and being an RA, but we also expect you to go to school, be full time and stuff, and then have a social life and do what you enjoy outside of that all within the span of 7 days a week, and just be all put together. Like it's a lot.
Yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of people are going to have to learn too. And I think it's really dependent on your floor, what their expectations are, your building, what the hall director's expectations are, and all of these things. Like, I know RAs who are living completely different lives based on just a bunch of circumstances that are pretty out of their control. And so that's also another thing to understand too. Like, some people are going to have a harder, set of duties that they need to do, but they also need that work-life balance as well. And so it's definitely an interesting position for you to be in, to like get to talk about that with us. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, and like half the time I'm like, are they even listening to what I'm saying? Like, or are they throwing it out the window, like not even listening to it? And I'm like, take what you want from it, I guess. Like, I can't force you to do anything, but like, I can just try my best is all.
Try your best, yeah. And I think that's a really good area for just like something that you're just going to have to work on. That's just how it is. And some people don't. You know what I mean? Some people stroll in and they like, I'm the boss, and they don't even try to cultivate. They don't even try to use like the age as an advantage at all.
Yeah.
Like they just walk in and they're like, I'm the boss, here's the deal. Like they don't try to cultivate those relationships, and you're taking a harder path, but I think it's a more beneficial one just by even thinking about the fact that you could balance this. You know? So kudos to you for doing that.
I try my best. Well, and like that's the part too. Like or at least I don't try to like ever walk in and be like, I know everything. Cause like, I don't. Like there are so many things I don't know. And I'm like, okay. And I think I even sent that in my first email to y'all of like, I'm figuring it out as I go. I'm going to be as transparent as possible. And everyone's like, word, cool, like so awesome. And I'm like, okay.
I hope it's so awesome because it's me.
For real. I was like, you don't have anything else. Well, and did you know everyone thought I was this white old man? Like, when I introduced
Johnathan Welch is a very old person name.
They thought I was like this white old man with like either gray hair or bald head. And I was like, I walked in, I was like, hey, it's me. And they're like, you are not what we were expecting. I was like, well, it's what you're getting. So I hope it's a good thing.
I hope it's a good thing. I hope I shattered your expectations.
Yeah, maybe you wanted a bald man. I don't know.
I guess. I say Johnathan is a very like almost all people have a grandpa named John, or like maybe their dad's name is John. You know what I mean? And so when you go to the full Johnathan, just like, I do have 3 Johns on my floor, so maybe I'm lying, but like, maybe John's coming back. Maybe John's coming back, but I don't know any Johns in my age, like ever. So.
It's coming back. It's a popular name.
maybe in California, there's a ton of Jonathans running around. So.
No, and they all spell it differently, like with an H or with a no H, and I'm like, oh.
Or maybe an extra O or something.
An
like
extra O.
John Othan.
Who are you meeting that has an extra O?
Jonathon. I wanted to talk to you in the realm of residence life. I wanted to talk to you about your hot take that you put on your thing. Which one was pineapple on pizza, which is fine.
And what's your opinion on it?
I'm good with pineapple on thin crust pizza.
Oh, that's very
exclusively.
Specific.
No, if you're putting pineapple on like a greasy Casey's pizza, you're a monster. That's a soup. That's not a food.
Is it bad? I've never had Casey's.
Honestly, you're living.
Is it a benefit?
It's a benefit. It is classic though. Like it is It's like you're not from Iowa if your parents didn't bring home Casey's pizza when you were little and you were like really happy about it.
Maybe I'll stay away.
It
sounds pretty greasy to
me. Incredibly. I get a paper towel and I.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a grease bowl, but it's worth having. But if you're putting pineapple on a greasy pizza, that's gross. But like a thin crust, like kind of drier.
Yeah.
put that pineapple on there.
I-
I'm a banger. But your other hot take was something along the lines of professional staff take their jobs too seriously.
Yes.
And I wanted to understand, like, what exactly are you talking about here?
No, I thought you were gonna bring up like the college is a scam one, but
That we will talk about that as well.
Oh, okay. I was getting ahead.
Yeah.
No, there are definitely, and I feel like I've seen a lot because I've been just at one institute for so long. Like, there are people who definitely love their jobs, and I've seen that, and like, props to them. They care about what they do. They care about the student experience, and like, you can physically see that they find joy in what they do. I think there are some professional staff members where they have either become so accustomed to what they do, or they're not being motivated or pushed in a way where they're becoming very complacent, and they take it so seriously. Like, my job, it's serious to an extent, but I'm like, there's things we can't control. And like, I think people who take it so seriously find that they burn out a lot quicker and stuff. And in case people don't know, like, it's very easy to get burnt out in a lot of different
Yeah.
jobs. Especially if you're like taking everything to heart, like you're not like taking things with a grain of salt. And like, there are times like things are out of our control, like that we're just unaware of. And like, it's going to happen everywhere you work. But for those who are able to find it in like the little moments of like what they enjoy, like that's where it's at. But I definitely see too often, even with some of my old supervisors, like they do it to a T, like this and that. And I've had to tell some of my old coworkers too at the other university, like, yes, you're doing a great job, but I'm like, you're doing it almost too good. Like, you're doing it too much to a T, and like they're doing it to every scenario, how we've based it and stuff. And I'm like, that's not like, humans don't work that way. Like, we can give you these scenarios and stuff, but each scenario is so different in its own aspect. Like, it's not all linear in a way.
So when you're talking about like taking it seriously, what's an example of like maybe a situation where someone takes it seriously versus not taking it seriously? Because I feel like I'm grasping what you're saying, but I want to fully understand what you mean by taking it seriously.
Yeah. So like, there's obviously taking it seriously. Like, for example, like if a conduct case comes in, then it's like there's procedures we have to do, and it's like a serious and stuff of like policy violation, but it's also a learning opportunity for not only us, but also the student, versus like a maybe not as serious as like if we get a random email and it's like, this needs to get done ASAP, like blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you send it out and someone's like very uptight about it. And it's like, it's not like, it's going to get done first off, like, because it has to, but like, that's out of our control. Like, that's because someone else is asking us versus like other things we're able to control. And I'm like, it's not deep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not as deep as you think it is. I'm trying to think of other examples.
So it's kind of like controlling an emotional response as much as you can to some of the things that we're going to have to deal with, like in residence life.
Yes, I have one friend. She still goes to ASU and stuff, and she's in her grad program now for law. And she would always take things like so seriously, or like she would just blow them up because she's like, the world's out to get her, basically. And she'd be like, oh, it's always me. And I'm like, girl, it is not. I was like, you just happen to be the one holding the phone, or you happen to have the problem residence. Like, it's just things that you can't control. And I'm like, it's not as big as you're making it. Like, it maybe takes 30 minutes max of your day, which to some is a lot, but to some, like, you got time to spare. But she would always blow it up. And then there's me over there running like 2 floors because one of our staff got fired, and I'm overseeing like 100 different kids and like running around with my head chopped off. And I'm like, it just happens. Like, there's things that are out of our control, but you just got to go with the flow and make the most of it. And I don't know, be a little more lighthearted with it in a way, but still knowing like you're going to get your stuff done.
Still getting the stuff done. Yeah, I think when people hear something like that, because I've been a huge advocate of like controlling your perspective and like your mindset when you're going into things, because that just does so much to just do an effective job. But more importantly, just to be a happier person, is to control that perspective. But people get so scared of the like hyper end of that, which is you don't get anything done, you suck at your job, you don't care. People are so scared of that they don't want to meet anywhere close to the middle of like having control. And I think just talking to people, especially when they're in a higher position and they oversee so many moving parts, just be like, you being so scared of loosening up has made you kind of a duller person. But more importantly, it's just made you more unhappy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like these things are gonna happen. Enjoy the craziness of it. You know what I mean? Like, because you only get to experience that craziness one time, maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then after a while, you're like, oh, it's the same thing again.
Uh-huh.
No, and I think about that too, and I think someone explained it to me in terms of like a heart monitor at a hospital. Like you're gonna have these super highs, but then like you got to come back down, and it's like you're gonna have the low moments, and like that's fine, but that's life. And if you don't have the highs and the lows, then you're kind of just again becoming dull and like not doing or performing to the best of your ability. And you're maybe like not recognizing it and stuff. And that's why I always tell myself, I'm like, if I'm never not enjoying what I'm doing, like, it's time for me to go. Like, I got to do something else. Like, either that or I need to have like a realization of what I'm doing and being like, this is not what I've set out to do. And like, this is not my intention. Like, I need to revisit it and revamp it.
Which is so. This is so sick. My philosophy, and it's something that my dad taught me, and I've lived with this for like a year, and it's that like, in reaction to something, there are literally only two things you can do. You can either change your perspective or you can change your action. That's it. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
You can complain about it, but that's not going to do anything. You can blame somebody else. That's not going to do anything. Even if it is 100% their fault, that's not going to do anything. The only thing you could do is like either have a different perspective. The only thing that make you feel better is to do something different or have a different perspective. Like, oh, okay, maybe they just did this, and then boom, you feel better. You know? And that's just all it is. You know, and it's so nice. And I think you're using this word growth a lot, and it just speaks to the things that you're saying. Like these are the avenues that produce change in a person, which is what you need.
Yeah, and so many people get stuck about like what others think. Get over that. Like nobody cares what anyone else thinks. Like, and so many people are like, but how are they going to react? How are they going to do this? And it's like, you can't control what they do, but you can control what you say, your actions, like the way you present something, your attitude, like your body energy and stuff. And I think that plays a lot too into what just you put out and stuff as a person.
Yeah, well, and I think an important caveat to this conversation is the difficulty in it, and the fact that you probably, along with me, fail all the time at like doing these things. You know what I mean? Like things happen, and you're like, God, I don't understand why this person did that the way that they did, and you're lacking that perspective shift, and you complain to somebody else or you like blame some. Like that's going to happen. You're going to fail. But I think it's just the general want to be that good does so much more than not.
Yes.
I guess, and so I feel like if you could speak to failure and just not being good at this, that might help the audience actually take you seriously instead of you just being like a 24-year-old white dude from California going and saying like, just grow,
just do it.
Just get over it.
I'm Nike. Just do it at this point. Like,
yeah.
No, and I think the failure part, like there are definitely moments where I notice myself having those attitudes, and it's like, ooh, like I recognize it, and I'm like, But then I'm like, who's that helping? Like, it's not helping me, first off. And then I always think about it too. I'm like, I feel like in a way I have to role model for you guys and stuff. And I'm like, if I'm role modeling this behavior of like negativity and stuff, I'm like, how is that going to impact you guys as a team? And then how are you going to interact not only with the students that you supervise and like oversee and stuff and make sure they don't burn down the building, but also like with each other. And like, you go through 2 weeks of intense training and you're all on each other for 2 weeks, and like after a while, like love y'all, but I'm like, I need you to leave. Like, I need you to be on your own, because I've seen you for about too many hours of the day. Like,
I've seen you for 60 hours this week. And
yes, like I need you to clock out and go home and take a walk, like
and go live life or something.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to keep those perspectives. And I think with like the replication thing of us looking to you, you know what I mean? Like, or I guess you needing to control how you present yourself for our sake. That's so difficult, especially when you're younger too, because it's so easy just to be in a room and mimic what everyone else is doing socially, even if it's not best for the group. And I find myself doing that all the time, because even though I shouldn't and I don't want to, it's just the easiest option. And I find myself just like doing it. And it's very difficult to control that stuff. But it's on my mind as often as it can be. And I think that's the important part, is just understanding.
Well, and it's hard because it's easy to follow what people are doing around you, and no one ever wants to be the person that like sticks out in a way.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, all eyes are on you. Like, don't mess up, don't flop. Like,
Yeah.
and like people look to you in that aspect. But yeah, it's a hard avenue.
It's a hard balance to do, but I think that's kind of the point. You know what I mean? Like, if it were easy, everyone would do it. And
Exactly. and then it'd be the new normal.
Yeah. And so it's all a weird pit of excuses, but also needing to grow, and then also like it's a whole self journey, and like it's really awesome to have upper management who is going through that journey. It's very important.
yes, it is.
Very, very important. So, for all the RAs or DOR people listening to this, come on my podcast. If you first off, Kurt, I'm looking at you. Kurt, if you've made it this far into my podcast and you haven't responded to my email, oh man.
Kurt, he's been bothering me for the past 2 weeks for you to be on this channel. Please come out.
If Susan gets on here a second time before you get on here a first time, game over for me. But I wanted to talk about your other hot take, which is college is a scam, which is a bizarre thing to be saying as someone who
I work at a university.
As you work at a university. So walk me through that.
No, so fun fact, it was not originally my hot take. It was one of my friends' hot takes back at ASU, and we were in one of our staff meetings, and like we were doing like the PowerPoint nights that you see on TikTok, and it's like all about whatever. And she's like, hot take, next slide, college is a scam. And everyone was like,
whoa.
Yeah, pretty much. And when she was breaking it down, she's like, and I've seen stuff on TikTok too, and it's breaking it down in the sense of like, you take the skills that you learn at a university, right? And then it's like, how do you apply it to jobs or different occupations and stuff? When you got people out here, first off, who are making like millions off of TikTok first, and then, or like who are traveling the world, gaining all these like applicable life skills. Like, how do you say you need to go to college, and then what? You're supposed to work in a 9-to-5 job for the next 40 years and retire, have some kids maybe, and then die. Like, that doesn't sound appealing whatsoever. But she made that caveat of like, yeah, there are a lot of experiences that are outside the classroom, and like you're able to.
Sorry, people are getting hammered to death outside my room or something.
Someone send help. But she made that like phrase, and that's all I've been thinking about. And I'm like, what would my life have looked like if I didn't go to college? But then I look at my sister's life. She graduated back in, when did she graduate? Oh, this is bad. But she graduated from high school like 3 years ago and stuff. She went to Utah for school, was going to originally do sports med, but then decided that wasn't for her and did the EMT program up there. And then moved back home, took some other classes and stuff. So her journeys looked a little different. But now she's like EMT, nationally certified. She has her phlebotomy license, nationally certified. She's going to be making more money than I am. And she's only gone to school for like 3 years. Like, not even. She's gone for like a year and a half. And so I think there's just many more options and avenues that we don't provide to people that are super necessary for how our society is ran today. Because like if everyone went to university, like there's so many jobs that don't need it, but then like it's hard like to rationalize, because what, you want little Jimmy to be $40,000 in debt? Like, sorry, like no, like. And so I don't know, I feel like it's a hot topic that no one wants to say, but also like it's not for everyone, and I feel like that's okay as well. And like we have different like avenues that they can go to, like whether it's vocational school, community college. Like if you work at a fast food restaurant, like you better be making the best damn burgers I've ever seen. Like even my mom, she's like, if you're a garbage like driver and stuff, she's like, you better be doing the best like job. And I'm like, okay, mom, like I'll try. Disclosure, was never a garbage driver.
Good.
But, okay, were you gonna judge me?
Willed it into existence.
No, but I think we just are very focused on like the university 4-year route is the only route, and it's not for everybody. Like, and that's just that. And like I think it's a hard pill for people to swallow, but it's like, it's not. Like, get over it. Like,
Yeah.
grow up. Like,
I think the college conversation is a really good one, but I do think that sometimes it's based around like a false idea. You know what I mean? Like it's not covering the real issue. So like I wouldn't say that the real issue is that college is a scam. I would say that the real issue is it's a scam to be told that you need to go to college.
yeah.
That's, you know what I mean? Like, because I would never say that the college that I'm going through isn't worth the money. In fact, I'm of the opinion that I would spend more money to do what I'm doing right now.
I have heard you say that before,
Yes.
and I was like, don't let anybody know that.
I
'cause
know,
You're
I know.
gonna ruin so many people.
And I know, and that's my perspective. And this should come from a place, I do not have more money to spend on college. I am not the person that should be saying that. But what I am saying is for the goals that I have, the things that I'm choosing to experience, and the perspective that I've run college through so far has been amazing and well worth the money because of what it's going to give me, what I'm going to make it give me,
Yeah.
and what I've allowed it to give me. However, you have these people who are coming here open option, and it's like, it's so difficult for them to get that perspective because they're deciding, why am I even doing this? What am I going to college for? Those people got scammed.
Yeah.
But the scam wasn't college. The scam was the people who told them you need to go to college. You know what I mean? And so I think there's a language thing because I dislike it when people are here and they're complaining about the things that they're experiencing because that's just inhibiting them from being able to enjoy what they're doing. But at the same time, you have so many people who hate it here because they should never have been here in the first place.
Yeah. so there's people here currently, Elijah, where you're like, get them out.
Yeah. Well, it's like for their sake, you know what I mean? They're like, I'm failing every one of my classes. I was told engineering would make me money, and now I'm here, and I hate it so much. And it's like, okay, you should not be here.
Yeah, there are definitely people who choose their major based off of how much they're going to make after they graduate. And I'm like, that's not why you should be doing it. Like, I'm a big advocate. You should do what you enjoy doing. And like, no matter the money you make out of it, like, do what you want. Like, do what's going to make you happy. You're doing it the rest of your life, pretty much. And like half of the time you graduate, you're not even using your degree. Like, everywhere is like, oh, you need this much experience coming out. But it's like, with what? Like, I just
left.
I just left. I got, and like, I see it. Like, if you go for 4 years, get your degree, that's 4 years of experience right there. Because it's like 4 years you've been learning in the classroom. But then we're still, I think, in the mindset, hopefully not anymore eventually, because we'll have younger people running it. But like, we're still in that old generation mindset of like, but you need this many years of experience. And it's like, okay, it's time to move on. Like, the only way to gain experience is by allowing me to grow and develop. Yeah, but I think with what you were saying too, the people who are here who are like not knowing why they're here, I think we're doing a disservice to them in the sense of like, I think the university then just sees them as a number. And it's like, we have so many resources that are available and we're trying our best to get it to you. If you're not then using that to your advantage, like that's then on them. But like you, for example, you're in like everything and everything, Elijah.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
like you are in the
I'm
most.
using it.
But you're using the system to like your advantage and stuff, which is what the university, I think, overall wants students to do. But like, it's not maybe as well publicized for everyone to know. And like, you have to either know people or you have to have an in somewhere. So I think it kind of has those struggles that way. But
Well, I also think that the solution of someone who's coming up to maybe their academic advisor and they're like, I'm struggling. An answer could absolutely be drop out of college and go get a welding degree. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they're never going to say that. They're not incentivized to say that. The solution is always, what can we offer you? And sometimes they just can't offer things, and that's not a bad thing. And that is a scam. That is absolutely a scam. Because they're incentivized to not give them what's best for them. I could be wrong. Maybe there are academic advisors out there who are saying, drop out of Iowa State. Kim Reynolds is paying you money to go to DMAC to learn to weld. You will make money going to school, going to DMAC. Do that. They're not, I don't know, maybe there's academic advisors saying that.
I don't think they're
so.
contractually allowed to.
And I think that too. And I think that is a scam. For me, my perspective has always been, if college is the necessary step to do what you want to do, it is the most worth it thing you can spend your money on. if it is anything other than that, you should maybe not be doing it or like question what exactly you're doing here. And that's been my perspective for a while on it. But I thought that was also interesting with the college. I understand where you're coming from, for
Yeah.
sure.
And like it's a hot topic all around, and I'm just like, let me throw that in there to
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
see what he thinks. But like I think there's also people too who are like, oh, like go straight into college and stuff. But I'm also like, if you have the means to go and travel the world, do it. Cause like I wish I could have traveled the world. Granted, study abroad is like low key expensive. Like I wish I could have coughed up money for that. But like it's also hard. Like you have to apply for it and then like get accepted into it. But like traveling the world too, like you're just exposed to so much that we don't see here in the States. Like I went to Greece and Italy my junior year of high school, not college.
Oh.
So yeah, but high school.
Saying how it's expensive and flexing that you did it.
Literally, that sounds like a personal issue. if you ask me.
Yeah.
But like did that junior year of high school, and just the exposure out there, and like first off, everything tastes so much better for no reason out there, and I'm like, can we have this back? Like, please. But also like there's so much more laid back. Like everything's not serious, and like we went to a restaurant and you had to ask for the check, and I was like, can we get the bill? Like, please, please and thanks. But like you could sit at a restaurant for like 3 hours, they would not care, like because they pay people
Yeah.
good money.
Yeah.
Like they get paid a living wage.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like if you can travel, I would highly recommend it. I wish I could have traveled. You know, maybe stay tuned. Maybe I will travel.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll ditch y'all next
Well,
year.
I was yeah, maybe you'll be in RA in Italy or something.
No, an RA, if me goes down from hall director back to RA. No, I've thought about
hall,
working.
hall director in Italy would be sick.
No,
Yeah.
for real. I've thought about working internationally too. And I don't know how it would work, but I think it'd be cool.
It's just figuring that stuff out and trying it out. Like use the resources that are available to you.
Yeah, well, and there's no handbook too of how to adult Elijah.
I
Just
know-
in
I
case
know,
you're wondering,
yeah.
like I
Good to know.
got I got out here all by myself. My family moved me in, said peace out, and I was like, so now what do I do? Like,
Yeah. What's next?
yeah, I'm like, any guide? Like, and they're like, no, and I'm like, okay,
Fine.
I'll do it myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously, yeah. Yeah. That's another crazy thing, and what I was gonna mention with the hall director being where your home is, like your support system is so far away, and so like you're here, you're our age, and like you're living in with us. You know what I mean? And that just adds another thing to where you're incentivized to hang out with us. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like you're incentivized to hang out with people slightly older and with other professional staff and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like your job performance is better when you have spent quality time with us. You live with us. We're there. And you're also close enough to our age to where it's not necessarily weird for you to be doing that. And
It's
so
not weird yet.
not weird yet. Give it a couple years and then it'll be weird. But it's a very weird environment for you to be in, and I think it's cool that you're in there and you're ready to like grow into it and like do something. with
I'm
it.
glad someone else thinks it's cool too, because there's definitely times where I'm like, should I be doing this? And then it's like, if I hang out with my peers and stuff, like they're talking about things that are not relevant to me whatsoever. Or I'm like, it goes above my head because like they've been in the working field for however long, and I'm like, I'm just here, I'm just vibing, like I'm figuring it out. But they'll be talking about stuff that like they learned from either a conference, professional development, and I'm like, yes, that will eventually be me, but I'm like, I don't know what that is. Like, I just got here, and like hanging out with y'all, like I guess I'm not required to hang out with y'all, but it is a benefit, and like it's good seeing you outside of the workplace and stuff, because it's like that's also why I'm here, is like to see you grow like individually too. See, there's the word grow again.
Yeah.
For you to like develop and like just see you outside of the workplace, because like what I see you whenever you show up in my office, like
Yeah.
and I'm like, what up, Elijah? But like I ran into Will on the way over here, and like he was surprised to see me on campus, and I was like, I do come outside of the office, like I'm not like the vampire
Yeah.
for the
Lives
building.
wanders the halls of Roberts.
For real, I'm not the bat hanging in the attic. You know,
Yeah, bad on the fourth floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. You're, and I would say though that even if this was not what you're supposed to be doing, like maybe you would be better doing something else. It's like, with the mindset it feels like you could do it anything and enjoy it and like be good at it. You know what I mean? Because that's just the kind of person that you are right now.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so like maybe you need to go find something else to do. But like that's you're going to enjoy the time while you're here, and you're going to use it as an experience. And then when you're done, you're like, I'm glad I did that. You know,
Yeah.
even though it was not at all what I wanted to be doing.
No,
so.
absolutely. Well, again, like never thought I'd be out in Iowa. Like, what's there to do in Iowa? Look at the corn.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I was like, Iowa will be a good experience. Like 4 seasons will get me to the Midwest. Never been to the Midwest whatsoever. And I was like, if I don't like it, it's not permanent. Like, and that's why I thought about going to college too. I'm like, if I don't like where I'm going, I'll just go somewhere else. Like that fits my vibe. But so far it's been good.
Good.
It's been a good time. I'm still here.
Yeah, say for after 3 weeks, I
Right.
thought we'd get you out of here,
Well,
but
it's a
we were
timeline.
conspiring for sure. This is a super hard pivot, but I wanted to talk about dance.
Yeah.
And what you did with that. It is maybe in California more common, but it is just obscure for a dude to have been in dance for 12 years. That's just something you don't hear very often, and you don't talk about very often. And I watched your videos,
I was surprised.
your
you watched the
highlight,
videos.
of course. People don't give me links to their stuff very often.
I wonder why.
I say I feel like an investigator when I'm like clicking it and watching it, and I get to actually see you do it. And so I just wanted to kind of like talk about dance with me, and like what were you doing? How'd you get into that? What kept you doing it? Like, how are you doing it now? Like, walk me through, I guess, what you're doing with what you did with that.
Yeah, well, the gag, I'm not doing it now.
Yeah.
I like to say I'm retired, Elijah.
spoilers.
Spoiler alert, I am retired. Always say I'm coming out of retirement.
So you're
but
boogieing.
I like to say I use it as a party trick now, is all I say. No, so I've done it, or I did it for 12-ish years, give or take. I don't know, the years kind of blur together. But I started it because my sister did it. And at the time, like, I was in everything and anything sports, like basketball, baseball, the whole 9 yards and whatnot. Because that's what you do when you're younger, because your mom doesn't want to have you be in the house. And so my sister, she got into dance, and then my mom's like, well, you're here, you might as well do it. She has a different point of view. She was like, you're the one who wanted to. And I was like, I don't remember that whatsoever. But started with tap, and then it grew into the other genres and stuff. And then it's just always been something that like has been an outlet for me. And I guess that's where I enjoyed the aspect of like teaching too, because during my senior year of high school, I taught 5 to 8-year-olds how to tap, which is a lot harder than you can think it is, because they got these little metal pieces on the bottom of their shoe, and there's like 10 of them in a room, and they're just non-stop moving their feet, and you want to throw something at them.
It sounds adorable.
Gotta love them though.
Yeah.
But yeah, did that, and then did it throughout middle school and high school. Was on the high school varsity team for 3 years. Captain my senior year and stuff. But no one ever tells you like the pivot from high school level to college level. First off, so much more different. Because in the college level, you do game day. So like the people you see on the sidelines for football and stuff, like they'll say like they're the spirit squad and whatnot. Like that's what we had. But like there's a difference between cheerleading and dance. Cheerleading, you're in the air flying, doing the whole flippy thing. Dance, you're not in the air flipping. You might be flipping on the ground by yourself, doing whatever tricks, but like you're like one and the same at that point. And so no one ever told me the caveat, like going into college, like how much harder that was. And I was coming off injury my senior year, so I was like, ain't no way I'm making the team. Like it's a goner. But I actually had the opportunity to like, I guess in a way, volunteer coach with the ASU dance coach and stuff. Shout out to Bianca Carl. She a real one.
out.
Yeah, she a real one. And like we've been in great touch and stuff, and like I would say she's been a good mentor in terms of like learning the behind the scenes. Because while they do like game days for like different types of sports, so like football and basketball, they're also doing like band practice during the summer, and they're going like 3 times a day, 3 days a week, like, and mind you, it's like 115 degrees in Arizona, so like they're sweating, but at the same time too, like they're preparing for nationals, they're learning sideline routines, they're doing academic stuff, like, and it all just looking into that and whatnot. So it's been a journey. Doing it now, I don't know, my body hurts every day when I wake up. My hips pop like twice a day, and it's like, my body just hurts a little more than it needs to, but it's fine.
Well, yeah, and I think what's so insane about dance is that maybe it's because I can't dance at all. It's one of those things where it's really vulnerable to be dancing, and especially to be caring about dancing. Like, I feel like there's this inherent like sexiness about singing, or about like playing an instrument outside of like a trumpet. You know what I mean? Like playing like a piano or guitar or something. So the act kind of compensates for anything that you might be messing up for, or the fact that you're trying hard. The results make up for that.
Yeah.
But with dance, if you try hard and are a bad dancer, you look terrible. You know what I mean? Like, it's so vulnerable to like put yourself out there and do this art and actually like really express yourself and care about it in something like dance, because I feel like there's some inherent difference between dance and some of the other art forms. And so like I saw your performance, like I don't know if it was your senior in high school.
That would be my senior.
Yeah.
That was my last solo.
I was like, because you looked a lot younger, so I didn't know. But like just seeing that, it was just like such a different beast to be taming while dancing.
I think I was like 17 or 18 in that video, and like no one. Like being on stage with a group of people is different than being on a stage by yourself, because like the stage is probably like bigger than the size of this room, and like there's tons of LED lights on you. You got 3 to 4 judges sitting in front of you, grading you based off of like your technique and your capabilities and stuff, but also like your presence on the stage, how you're commanding it, like this and that. And it's like you're being judged on everything that you've been taught, but also like you're doing it hopefully for the fun of it. I don't know. It's definitely challenging because in the dance world, there's like your ideal dancer, and then there's like your non-ideal dancer and stuff. But those stigmas have been a little more broken down. But it's still hard because it's like you're judging them based off of, one, how they look, but two, like also how they like do the act of it. And people are not nice about it whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like you definitely look at it and you're like, damn, there's a lot of mean people in the room. Like,
dance moms are crazy.
No,
the whole
for
dance
real.
community can be kind of mean.
It is. Well, and like I feel like, have you ever seen the show like Dance Moms and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun fact, was on season 7, episode 11.
You were on season 7, episode 11?
Okay. I will make a note with that. I wasn't dancing, Elijah.
Oh.
I was behind the mothers and stuff. This was my senior year when I was on injury. But we were sitting right behind them and stuff at a competition. Didn't know we were going to be sitting behind them. And I was like sinking into my chair, and I was like, this is awkward.
That
but
is crazy.
Yeah. And so like that to an extent is sort of what it's like, but it's not really. Like it's obviously like for the dynamic of the show.
Yeah, that's very exaggerated.
Yeah.
God, I'd hope it wasn't like that.
No, but like when you're competing on these stages, you're out there for, I think a solo is like 2 minutes long, but like routines, depending on the size of it, can go from like 3 minutes to 5 minutes. Like, and for the most part, like it's a full cardio exercise. Like you're sweating, it's nonstop. And don't even like try to ask people what it's like running behind the stage and like moving, because it's not only you dancing, but you have like 4 or 5 numbers on the side, like warmed up, ready to go for like the next numbers. So like there's a lot that goes into it.
It's an extreme art form.
Yeah.
It's just and with for me the hardest part to grasp is the emotional understanding that like you have to be conveying, because it's similar to music, it's similar to all of the other arts, that you're supposed to be conveying an emotion, and it's not inherent. You know what I mean? Like there's not really there's things to be deciphered, there's things to be understood. Like with singing, there are inflections in a voice that are natural to a certain emotion or feeling. But with dancing, you have your face, and then you have the way your body moves.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to be conveying an emotion, and that's a really exposing and vulnerable place to be as well. It's like trying to convey something that not everyone understands, but going full throttle and doing it anyway.
Yeah, well, and that's your goal as the dancer, is to bring them into that scene and to make them see what you're seeing. And if you have a good choreographer, like depending on the music type, like they'll find the different accents in the music that hopefully help you in a good way. But yeah, as the dancer, you're definitely trying to, one, put on this scene and portray with your face. And you could be having the shittiest day for all they care. But it's like you're supposed to be like happy, enjoying, and like also not like the fake happy too, where you're like,
Yeah.
and that's like my go-to smile for anything is like, but like,
I'll remember that.
right, whenever I'm just like,
like, yeah.
but yeah, like you'd have to do these like weird faces, and like you'd have to be in it, and no one can teach you how to be in that moment, which is the hardest thing. And I think it took me up until like my junior year of high school. So like I was already pretty much done at that point, but like to actually take it serious enough to like be invested in the music. And by like that time you're performing it, you've already like learned it for the past 6 months. So like you're done with it, you're done with the song, you don't want to do it anymore, and like you're ready to learn something new. But yeah, I feel like singing though is a little harder because you're either a good singer or you're not a good singer.
that is true.
And I fall into the not great singing category where I'll only do it in the car
Yeah.
or the shower. So.
Yeah. I feel like dancing is also like you're either a good dancer or you're a bad dancer. I guess most bad dancers can learn a move and do it well.
Yeah.
But like to do it as a sport, like as an art form, is very different than like dancing on the boogie floor. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's
two different areas.
Whole different beast is doing like the sport of dance. Because my girlfriend's in dance, and the whole thing that they do is like, I watch them and I'm watching this thing, and the biggest thing is the music is normally cancer, especially in like pop, because they have to use the royalty free, and it's a mishmash of a bunch of different sounds and songs.
And it's like,
top stuff.
Yeah.
And then it just like plays a Britney Spears song. I'm like, I can't do this. This hurts my ears to be in this room. But other than that, like I know people who have memorized like a total of like 10 minutes of choreographed dance and like all these things, and it's crazy. The whole sport is nuts.
It is. And like for the people, if you've ever seen someone like blink when they get up there, it's fully real. Like there are times I luckily have never blinked, but like there have definitely been times I go on there and it'll be like, okay, you're up next. And I'm like, I don't remember how I start. Like you get so nervous in that sense of like, you got adrenaline, you feel like you have to pee. That's real.
Yeah.
And then you get off and you're like, I don't got to pee anymore. Like, it's fine. But like, there's definitely been times I get on there and I'm like, I don't know how we start. I don't know where I'm supposed to be. Like the lights are bright. I could be walking off the stage for all I care. Like, and then it's everything that you've been working for. And then you're like, is the stage big enough? Is it too small? Am I going to smack the person to the left of me doing this? And then have you ever seen like people use props and stuff?
That's all.
That's a whole nother thing. And like I am an advocate for a good prop, unless like it's super like mundane and not needed. I'm like, you don't need the prop because like you have a duration for prop setup, and it's like, okay, like did you really need to take 3 minutes to set up 4 chairs?
Yeah,
no, like,
not even a little.
No.
We had this like 8-year-old do a dance called I Love Justin Bieber, and she had a cardboard cutout of Justin Bieber that she danced with during the song, and it was a Justin Bieber song, and it was a really awesome prop to have at like just kind of a silly dance to be doing something like that. So
no, and it's cute if it's an 8-year-old, but like if you're 15 and doing that,
maybe less.
Right? Like no,
I don't know. We don't do that.
No, maybe grow up. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Who knows? But yeah, so the dance thing was crazy. It was the whole, because I love the arts. Like I'm a big music guy. I love acting. I'm a big acting person.
Oh yeah, I know. How's your little juicy wiggle on the floor looking like a caterpillar though?
We'll do that off camera. I'll tell you after this. My caterpillar itch. Yeah, because it got bad, and then today a big revelation happened. People became self-aware, and that changes everything.
No,
so,
you have to be you have to fully be like not focused on what you're doing. Like even if you know you're stupid, like you just have to not think about it.
Yeah, I'd say like acting has to be somewhere close to a dance in like the realm of art, but like even then there's not a lot of physicality that you need for dance, so it's a whole thing. But yeah, the dance thing, I saw that and I was just like trying to apply it to the different arts, and it's a whole
No.
other beast.
It's hard.
And to do it for 12 years is pretty nuts too.
Yeah, I don't know how I did it, and then I somehow got into volleyball and stuff, and I was like, Mom, why haven't I been doing this? And she's like, well, we told you your senior year, and I was like,
See, 12 years late.
yeah, I was like, come on, you should have been putting me in it when I was like 2.
Yeah.
When I was already 7 feet tall. Come on.
Yeah, when you came out like 4 feet tall.
Yeah, I'm like, gosh, come on, Mom, you're just pushing out.
So is that you're saying to do the sports and you're like doing basketball and everything because that's what your parents want you to like, but also you were probably like a foot taller than everyone else. Like,
No, literally, when I was thinking about it too, I'm like, how awesome would it have been to like be a collegiate athlete at a university and like done that? I'm like, I understand what they go through to an extent, but I'm like, it's so like from the athletes I've seen, and like I've had a few athletes in the class, like they do so much, and I'm like, maybe I don't want to do that.
it's a lifestyle. Like it's not
Yeah.
even just like a sport that you play. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
they wake up, eat,
I was
work out, go practice, go back to school, sleep, eat again.
yeah, it's like every moment is dedicated to like the end goal, which is incredible, an incredible thing to be doing. But I'd like to think I'm giving that commitment to something else, but it's not sports.
No.
It's a huge commitment to that. But it's been about an hour and 15.
I know, the time flies.
I know.
Even you said you're like, the time's gonna go by fast. I'm like, nah, it'll
No,
be fine.
it does.
It's just like an average Tuesday here.
Yeah. So I wanted to give these last final moments to say, like, if there's any plugging you want to do to any of the stuff that you've done or are doing, or any departments or people, or if there are any like final messages you want to leave with the people who have made it this far. This is kind of your platform to just say what you need to say.
My platform, I don't know. I feel like it's your platform. Jeez. I don't know. It's been super exciting. I've been holding out a lot for this, people. I've been waiting for so long. He initially was like, over the summer, he's like, yeah, I'm trying to get the hall director on. And I was like, but when though? Because I'm super excited. And like, I'm big into podcasting too. Like, I don't do it well, except I guess this one time. So put it on the resume.
You are.
But like, I'm not a podcaster.
Yeah.
But like, I listen to a lot of it too. And like, just, I feel like it's such a good platform for you to talk about whatever you want and like, hopefully reach a lot of people. I don't know. Depends if you're influential or not. But I don't know. It's been cool. I think it's a good like learning experience as well with like the different people you interact with. And I don't know. Maybe we'll have to do a part 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was super giddy doing this.
So we'll get the next part in like maybe the end of the year, and we'll see like how.
What the learning?
Yeah,
growth?
what the learning growth.
Growth. It'll be me and Susan over there.
Yeah, growth part 2. Yeah, all of both of you guys.
Yeah.
You and Kurt maybe.
No, I feel like Kurt's a little too philosophical for me. Love you though, Kurt.
Love. I want him on here.
No, for real.
Kurt, I'm a philosophy minor, please, dude.
No, are you really?
I am.
Gosh, the more you learn something new every day.
But it was awesome having you on, Jonathan.
Yeah.